Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you to the folks online as well. My name is Kayla, and I'm the city's sustainability coordinator, and I'm here today with our friends from Center for Energy and Environment as part of the Electrify Everything MN workshop series that we have this year. So thank you for taking some time this morning to spend your morning with us. Turn it over.
My name is Jordan Perkins, and I work with the Center for Energy and Environment and here with Matthew Douglas May. We're going to go through some home electrification trends and opportunities for contractors. So first, looking at our agenda, we're going to look at why electrification. I'm going to go through a walkthrough of air source heat pump trends in the market, tools, rebates and operational costs, as well as different opportunities moving forward. Matthew's going to do the same walkthrough for heat pump water heaters. We'll talk a little bit about electrical service and panel strategies, have some time for Q&A and networking at the end. And feel free to stop us at any point if there are questions on anything. I'm happy to make this more of a discussion wherever needed. So a quick overview of the Center for Energy and Environment. We do a lot of great work in different pillars. This is kind of a nice view of everything that we cover at our company. Just highlighting a few is on the program side, working and implementing different programs with utilities and local and city programs. Our research organization is who I partner with very closely in modeling air source heat pump technology and other electrified technologies and figuring out how they can work in cold climates. So having that third-party perspective from our research team is really valuable to help bring to the market and give everyone honest, down-to-earth information about how technology works in Minnesota's climate. And then last thing I wanted to highlight is the market transformation pillar. That's where I mostly work under, and this is where we're trying to really work to accelerate efficient technology adoption. So won't go into all of them in detail, but just kind of showing our organization as a whole and all of the different areas that we cover. A little bit more and a quick introduction from me. So I'm our HVAC market development manager. I work primarily on residential air source heat pump technology, but I do plug in a little bit on commercial RTU technology as well. I manage distributor, manufacturer, and some utility partnerships for our program with the Minnesota Air Source Heat Pump Collaborative. And then my other kind of focus of my role is developing contractor curriculum and resources and delivering trainings across the state. My background is in equipment manufacturing, so I actually used to work more in transport refrigeration and commercial as an electrical engineer and product manager. So it's been really fun moving over to the residential space since I've come over to CE about 2 years ago. So what is the Minnesota Air Source Heat Pump Collaborative? So we are a statewide initiative that's dedicated to the adoption of energy efficient air source heat pump technology. So we work alongside our different market actors, utility partners, local governments, to homeowners, contractors. And we're just really trying to provide resources, training, and up-to-date technology data to help accelerate the market for air source heat pumps. Overall, our goal is to help establish heat pumps as the preferred option for both customers and contractors when they're operating their heating and cooling systems as efficient alternatives to air conditioners. And our program is focused on dual fuel applications. We're definitely supportive of all electric when that works, depending on the application type. But we understand, just given the utility setup and natural gas being cheaper, that a lot of times a dual fuel system is the most practical for a homeowner to invest in for upfront operational costs. So just with Minnesota's cold climate, we're very supportive of that approach at this point in time. I will turn it over to Matthew.
Thanks, Jordan. My name is Matthew Douglas May. I'm a community program manager at CEE, and I manage our Electrify Everything Minnesota program, which I'll talk about in a second. But I spend my time, really my area of expertise is resident education and outreach on home electrification and energy efficiency. So spend a lot of time working with residents directly and with city governments and other partners to help spread the word about the opportunities that residents have to switch from gas to electric in their homes. And before this role, I got my start in the industry doing home energy audits. So got to go to a lot of homes, hear folks' concerns, and help them design solutions for saving energy in their houses. So Electrify Everything Minnesota is an initiative that is managed by the Center for Energy and Environment and supported by a number of local governments, The city of Rochester being one, and a big thanks to the city for hosting this workshop and sponsoring us being here. Destination Medical Center is another one of our sponsors, and then a number of other local governments and foundation partners. And the goal of Electrify Everything is to support the gradual electrification of 1 to 4 unit homes to promote resident health and climate sustainability. So we do this in a number of ways. One is doing education. So we host workshops. We had our first resident workshop just a couple weeks ago. We've got another one in May, where we teach residents about the options they have for electrifying their homes and all the questions and resources that are available. We also offer a one-on-one support service called the Electrify Advisors, where residents can call in and get help navigating projects. You know, everything from finding contractors to get quotes from to helping line up incentives. And we also do broader marketing and outreach to help spread the word and help people know that, you know, a heat pump can heat and cool your home, or a heat pump water heater is a great option to replace a gas water heater. So with that, we are also really glad that we've got Maggie here with Tana, and want to just hear from folks in the room what's the experience you're coming with, what kind of business do you work with? So Maggie, would you want to just share kind of what you do and what kind of equipment you support the installation of?
Absolutely. I've worked on the estimated side of town for about a year now. So I work with heat pump water heaters, heat pumps, furnaces, kind of the whole gamut on the HVAC and plumbing side of things. So,
Yeah, I know we were chatting earlier, but you were saying seeing an uptick in heat pump water heater installs and.
yeah, a big uptick. They're definitely gaining popularity. I'm sure a lot of that is word of mouth, you know, just advertisements. Like I said, with solar, a lot of people are going solar, and I'm sure the solar reps are promoting how they can save, and heat pump water heaters and heat pumps are up there on the list, so.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, great. Yeah, and then Jake, would you want to share your role?
Yeah, so Jake Jones with RPU. I've been with RPU about in this role about 2.5 years now, and I'm a residential energy advisor. Take care of all of our rebates, solar, EVs, any questions residential customers have, and work closely with trade allies.
Great. Yeah, anything to add, Stephanie, or?
Stephanie Humphrey with RPU. Jake and I work together on all of our programs, so.
Great. Welcome. We were just going around sharing who's in the room. So yeah. Who are you coming from?
Oh, hi, I'm from Haley Comfort Systems, so just kind of new to the company and just wanted to come and learn.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
Great. And Sarah, do we have anyone online who would want to share?
You can just ask if they want to unmute it. Sure.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Derek from Midbroad Electric, just excited to learn as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed it. Who are you representing?
Midbroad Electric.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. We're really excited to have you all here. You are the experts as the folks who are installing these pieces of equipment in people's homes. So we're going to share a bunch of exciting information with you, but also love to hear your perspective and experience, you know, being the ones on the ground doing this work. So we'll jump on in. So first off, why are we talking about electrification? What is all the buzz around this? Very basically, electrification is replacing gas equipment with electric options. So this looks like replacing a gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, or replacing a gas stove with an induction stove, for example. Anytime we're moving from a gas piece of equipment to an electric piece of equipment. And typically, or for Electrify Everything and Heat Pump Collaborative, we promote moving to a more efficient electric option. So, for example, going from a gas water heater to an electric resistance water heater is not what we would recommend because you'd see higher bills. But going from a gas water heater to a heat pump water heater, you'd see that energy savings in addition to the electrification. And there are a number of reasons why electrification is gaining popularity among homeowners, but there are three big ones. So one is potential bill savings. In some cases, depending on what your current piece of equipment is and the piece of equipment you're updating to, you can see savings on your energy bills, and also have more predictable energy bills through the year typically. Health is also a big reason. A lot of homeowners are interested in removing gas combustion in their home, just eliminating that risk completely or partially, and switching to electric, which does not have that gas combustion component. And then climate is a big one. We see a lot of environmentally conscious customers really interested in electrification to reduce their carbon emissions and help the environment. And a big reason why electrification is gaining popularity and continuing to grow is that utilities in Minnesota are on the path to decarbonizing the electric grid. So this is a big deal when we're talking about reducing the greenhouse gas emissions from homes. Switching from gas to electric is the clearest and lowest cost path for that. And that's because in 2023, the state of Minnesota passed the 100% clean energy bill, which will require all utilities in the state to provide 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. And Rochester Public Utilities is a leader in this space, and actually ahead of that. RPU is on a path to achieving 100% net renewable energy by 2030. So when a homeowner installs an electric piece of equipment, they're tying their home to that greening grid. Basically, by say you would install a heat pump today in Rochester, by 2030, we're on a path for that being net renewable. So that's a big deal. And in addition to that, customers can go solar, do a subscription program, which is at a very base level. Anyone who goes electric in Minnesota is tying their home to that decarbonization pathway. And even today, 54% of the electricity produced in the state is carbon-free. So current grid conditions, switching from gas to electric is a lower carbon option. So when we're talking about electrification with customers, we focus on the big energy users in a home and the main sources of gas consumption. And in Minnesota, it's probably not a surprise, it's really cold here. And heating is by far the biggest energy user in a home. So 72% of the average home energy use is just for space heating. That's year round, compared to the national average, which is about 39%. So when we're talking about electrifying a home, air source heat pumps and weatherization are a big deal. And then water heating is the next biggest category. So electrifying water heating is another big opportunity. When we're talking about electrification with residents, these are the main areas of a home that we talk about and the main areas of the home to focus on. One, because they're the biggest energy users in the home, and two, because they're usually the areas in the home that use gas. So weatherization is big, reducing that heating load. Today we'll be talking about heating and water heating mainly, and then clothes drying and cooking are also areas where we help folks make the switch. So it's easy to say there's just these 5 areas in a home to address, and we'll wave a magic wand and make the switch. But as we all know, it is not that simple, and especially for homeowners who are coming to this new, there are a lot of questions that come up. It can feel confusing and daunting from the beginning. So our goal with Electrify Everything is to be a one-stop shop to help answer those questions, help people walk through the process and choose between the different options that are available for them. and connect folks with great contractors who are experienced and good at helping folks walk through those decisions as well. So there's a lot of questions that we get that come up. One of them is just, where do I start? What is the first appliance I should tackle? What is needed in my home? When should I think about replacing equipment? What's the lifespan? A lot of folks will wait until something breaks, but we do get a lot of folks who are interested in planning ahead. What are the upfront and operational costs for electric options? Will my bills go up or go down? How much does this equipment cost? What resources and incentives are available is a big one. And then who do I talk to for guidance? Who can I get bids from, and who can install this equipment in my home? So we're really glad you all are here today, because that last question is really, really key. So that's how we approach helping customers. And there are some other trends moving towards electrification. So one is that on the utility side, for a long time, LED lighting rebates were really the big source of energy savings for utilities. But as LEDs are saturating the market more and more, we're seeing a diversification of different areas where utilities are seeing big savings. And water heating, being the second biggest energy user in a home, is a big opportunity there. So we're seeing more and more heat pump water heater rebates, electric water heater rebates coming out from utilities, which we'll talk about, and for space heating as well. And last but not least, what's in it for contractors? What brings you all here today? There are a number of trends we're seeing that make adding electrification to your product offerings a really great option, and we'll dive into those more. But high level, there's growing customer demand for it, and then there's also an opportunity to expand product offerings to offer more energy efficient and green options for customers who are looking for it. And then last but not least, it's great to be a knowledgeable resource around incentives to help address questions around upfront costs, which are always top of mind for homeowners. And as I've said, you are the experts. You are the ones talking with customers, hearing those concerns. So throughout, and then at our Q&A at the end, I'd love to hear from you as well. What brings you here today, and what are the reasons you're seeking to add electrification? All right, with that, I'll pass it back to Jordan.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to start on the air source heat pump side, going into market trends and consumer awareness. So first, just highlighting a few things that we've seen in the market over the past several years. We did do a survey of contractors in the Minnesota market, and we saw that over half of these contractors saw an increase in ducted heat pump sales in the last few years. And then also from the same survey, over 70% of these contractors expected these ducted air source heat pump sales to increase over the next 5 years. So just kind of calling out what we're already seeing for growth in the market and the anticipated further growth as demand grows, incentives grow, and consumer interest is coming along in that line as well. So the market is definitely shifting more in this direction. So just highlighting this, from contractors that we've directly heard from, to help support the business, stay ahead of the curve, and have the right technologies available to sell to your customers. On the customer side a little bit, the thing that we like to do is play around with some popular Google search terms. You can actually do this with any search term and look up the data over the past however many years to see how the popularity has grown over time. So this is just an example of the search term heat pump in Minnesota, going back from 2019 to 2024. Yes, there are definitely some spikes and low points, but overall that linear trend of some growth, just in terms of interest, growing awareness, and customers just wondering what it is and if it's right for them when they're looking at equipment replacement. So this is just kind of highlighting the consumer side as well. And so really going back to the question of what do customers want from their new HVAC system? What are they looking for? What are their top priorities? So we actually conducted a randomized control trial last year of Minnesota and Midwest customers. We have some details here on the 30 homeowners who participated in focus groups, and then we had over 1,700 Minnesotans and 2,300 Midwesterners complete online surveys. So a lot of data, It's fantastic to be able to pull this together and really see where homeowners are at, what are they looking for, and kind of where are their gaps where, we can help support them along the way, and you as their contractor can be that really important trusted resource through the process. And so looking here for top priorities when they're choosing a new home heating or cooling system, as probably a surprise to no one, it's going to be cost. So at the top here, we have that final purchase cost or that upfront cost of the equipment. Then next down is that monthly operational cost. So cost is really top of mind for customers when they're picking their new system. I do think it is helpful to highlight some of the other results as well, is same or better comfort, better indoor air quality. These are things where heat pump technology can really serve that space better than your traditional air conditioner setup. Same or better comfort and IAQ, you can get that from longer run times of heat pumps, better filtration, dehumidification, temperature destratification around the home. If that system's running longer, at lower fan speeds, you're able to just have better temperature maintenance, better indoor air quality, and just more comfort throughout the home. So even though this isn't one of the top points, I still think selling how heat pumps can provide that better comfort and IAQ can be a really great selling tool because that's still something that's very important to customers. So kind of summarizing the priorities here, they're really looking for economical solutions, upfront costs, operational costs, and then also quality equipment. Most customers with their current system are probably unhappy with something about it. Like that room upstairs never gets warm enough or never gets cool enough in the summer. The room downstairs is always too cold. So this is something where they're always looking for just better temperature consistency and balance, less fluctuation around that set point, kind of back on that IAQ piece. And then also just the reliability of the system and durability, just making sure that this big upfront investment for them is going to last a while. Be installed in an optimized high quality way. And so we just kind of like to call back is, you've been selling air conditioner and furnace pairings for a long time. It's like, how can we look at just making simple modifications to the sales process to help sell heat pumps and the benefits that they provide for these customer priorities over time? And then kind of going back to that situation of, if they have different things that they're unhappy with their home, how can you help even solve their problems with a heat pump solution, especially when we're looking at that variable speed modulating equipment for cold climates like Minnesota. And so really looking at how can you be a trusted source of information and increase your customers' confidence in your expertise. Going back to our survey results, this question was asking about, trusted resources for homeowners. So the very top here, we have friends and family, then utility, and then number 3 is contractors. So they are definitely looking to you as contractors as trusted sources of information when they're trying to figure out how to approach equipment replacement, what technology is right for them, and what options are available that they might not know about. So really awesome to be able to highlight your expertise and increase customers' confidence in your work and knowledge of this new technology. And so just calling out a few key points here. I think the familiarity with the incentive landscape goes a long way. If you can go talk to a customer and kind of have everything ready, laid out, like, all right, let's talk through what do you have for utilities? Which area do you live in? Which different rebates and incentives can you qualify for that we can stack? Being knowledgeable about that and the entire incentive landscape for your customers can be really helpful for them just understanding how to start bringing down that upfront cost if they are interested in a heat pump system. Being familiar with any dual fuel or electric space heating rates from your utility and how to sign up for them. This can also be really, really helpful on the operational cost piece as well. Because that's still, even though it's not as important as that upfront cost, it still is very important to customers over the life of the equipment. And then being able to communicate to your customers very clearly. I know that the incentive landscape can be confusing and trying to figure out how and when to stack things, what has to come first, and how does this process work. Being able just to communicate this and how you can help them get through this process will go a long way. Just helping them become confident and comfortable moving towards a more energy efficient system. And so jumping in a little bit more on incentive sources and minimizing operational costs. So just going back, seeing that this cost is the most important piece for homeowners. And so now let's look at which incentives are available. So available for most Minnesotans, we have utility rebates, any special electric rates offered by utilities. We do have the federal tax credits and then also statewide financing. Specific cities do have local rebate match programs that are available and can be really helpful just to add another amount to that value stack. And then available later, the state and federal rebates through the IRA program. I know right now we're still just kind of in a holding pattern, trying to figure out exactly how and when that will be rolled out. I know it's been a little bit frustrating with the delays and trying to figure out, when is this going to be available and how can I take advantage of it? So, we're staying tuned on this. I know that all of our teams at CEE are working to make sure that we have up-to-date information that we can communicate out to everyone in the market once we do hear anything more clearly. But we do just really want to focus on what can we take advantage of now, because there are still a lot of great value in stacking all of the other incentives, without maybe trying to wait for the IRA, which I know some customers have been doing and asking questions. And so just highlighting some statewide loans available through the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. So we have kind of these two main programs, the home energy loans, as well as the Fix Up Fund. I have the link here for access. I'm sure that we're going to be sharing slides out to everyone, so that everyone can easily click through any links and things we share throughout. But this is a really great opportunity. I don't think a ton of people know about it. It's available statewide. So it's another great thing for homeowners to be able to take advantage of in the incentive landscape. And then calling out some different utility rebates. So on the Minnesota Air Source Heat Pump Collaborative website, we do have a utility rebate search tool. So you can look at different rebates by application type, get all of the efficiency specifications required, and then direct links to any of those utility rebate pages. So you can go right to the source of the information. We do have, this is kind of what it looks like on our website. You can search for the provider and it will bring it up. We also do have a downloadable spreadsheet version of this. So if you happen to work across multiple utility service territories and you just want to, do a poll and minimize down to everything that you're frequently using. I know I've talked to a lot of contractors that have done that. So whichever preferred method, but we keep this all up to date and we work with our utility partners across the state to make sure that all of this information is accurate and is available. And so kind of going back to this entire incentive picture, all of this information and a lot more details on it can be found on our incentives and financing page. So if you go to this on our website, it'll kind of go through everything broken down by category, special rates, utility rebates, 25C tax credit, any of those local programs that are available. As well as any limited time promotions from manufacturers as well. We do try to stay in touch and highlight those if there's anything that pops up for, a certain quarter or a few month period throughout a year. And so next up, moving into operational costs a bit more, we do also have a cost of heat comparison tool on our website. So this is customizable by utility, fuel type, whether the customer has natural gas or propane, and then the electric rates. So depending on the utility, you'll be able to select from either standard, dual fuel, electric space heating, whatever type of special rate they might have available for these systems. And so we look at different scenarios with a baseline furnace and AC. Dual fuel scenario with different switchover temperatures and calculating that operational cost comparison, as well as all electric. I'll go in a little bit further because it's bigger on the slide and easier to see. So as an example here, this is kind of our aggregated statewide average through Great River Energy, and we're just looking at natural gas and standard electric rate. So on the far left, this is the annual estimated operating cost of your standard furnace and AC setup. And so if we go and look at a dual fuel system, so this is going to have your air source heat pump and your furnace. And so we have our switchover at 15 degrees, switchover at 30 and at 45. So this is kind of showing the different operational cost differences depending on your switchover temperature and just how much of that heating load the heat pump is serving for the home throughout the year. So in this case, given natural gas being cheaper, this is kind of expected. I think everyone's pretty familiar with this. It's not always the most economical to have a really low switchover temperature in some cases, just because you're going to end up paying more for that electricity bill. One thing to call out here though is that, this is just looking at the standard electric rate. The dual fuel electric rate, I know for Great River Energy is about half of what their standard is. So that's something that actually can make that natural gas case a lot more promising. So it just really depends on what's available and which utilities you're working with. I know that we also have Rochester Public Utilities modeling this tool as well. And I think it's pretty similar to this one, where that higher switchover temperature right now is still looking like the best place for that operational cost savings. But it's still a great option to be able to sell customers future load flexibility as well. I think that's a critical point with natural gas, because even though you can't do those really low switchover temperatures and save a ton on operational costs now, it's investing in, okay, what if natural gas spikes? And we have, different changes in utilities. It's just really nice to have that flexibility and kind of be able to choose more where your heat pump's taking on the heating load to try to maximize your operational costs depending on the layout. We know that electricity is pretty stable over time, and we've just kind of seen some steady trends there, but natural gas can be a little bit more volatile. So just having that choice and flexibility, I know, can be a really helpful selling point. To that piece, kind of going to the sizing side of this, is that it's typically most economical to size for the cooling load in this case for your heat pump. So this is where, just kind of given this cost situation, you really don't want to size it like larger to try to take on more of that heating load, just because you'll be able to maximize those operational costs a bit more with those higher switchover temperatures at this point in time. And then just calling out all electric here on the side, as expected, much more expensive for that operational cost. This is something where I know sometimes I've heard contractors talking to customers who are interested in all electric and maybe they don't mind the upfront cost. I think it's still really helpful to help them understand the operational cost portion, because if they want to invest on the upfront costs, they should still have a pretty good understanding of just how much their increase could be. So, and this tool really isn't meant to be like an end all be all, like take it directly to a customer, show them the exact dollar amounts they're going to save. This is really just to try to help get you a view of, okay, within my customer's utility landscape, kind of which way do I want to go? Do I want to size closer to cooling or heating? And just kind of helping drive that conversation around operational costs and what they can maximize. So looking at a propane example, which I always think is fun. So on the left side here, you have your standard AC and furnace setup. And then for dual fuel, just given the cost of propane, it's always going to be more economical for the heat pump to take as much of that heating load as possible. So you can kind of see this from the lower switchover temperatures, 15, 30, 45. And then on the far right here, the all electric, if customers can invest, that operational cost is now less than your standard baseline setup year over year. So I know that for propane, talked to a lot of contractors that have had a lot of success, and customers interested in all electric. If they can make that upfront cost work, they're going to be set up for some cost savings over time. And again, this is only with the standard electric rate. So any sort of special rates or dual fuel rates do dramatically decrease these numbers as well. So I definitely recommend playing around with the tool for different utility service areas you work in. It can just be really helpful to get a picture of, what the layout is, what can we take advantage of, and how can I communicate this to my customers. Quick call out here is that for this case, when it's more economical for the heat pump to take on more of that heating load, we recommend to size closer to the cooling load, but we want to make sure not to be closer to the heating load, but we want to make sure not to be oversized for cooling. That's really important and really difficult in Minnesota's cold climate, just given how much larger our heating loads are than our cooling loads. But if you're oversized for cooling, then that equipment is going to short cycle and you're not going to be able to take advantage of all of those great benefits we talked about with those longer run times, better filtration, dehumidification, comfort, indoor air quality, those kind of things. So this one's it's a tricky line to toe. You want to make sure that you can try to optimize these operational costs as much as possible, but ensure that the customer is still going to be comfortable in that cooling season. So I just like to show an operating hours chart too, to highlight just kind of how many hours are we actually spending in each temperature bucket throughout an entire year. So here we have Rochester pulled up. All of the gray bars are your furnace heating hours. This is the switchover temperature at 45. All of the orange are your heat pump heating hours, and the blue are the heat pump cooling hours. So I think it's kind of fun to flip through this and see how this changes. So going to 30-degree switchover temperature and then 15-degree switchover temperature. And I just really like getting a view of this, because I know a lot of times we're really concerned about these really cold temperatures and what do we need to make sure that the home has to support those. And that's why we are supportive of the dual fuel approach, and having that auxiliary heat have that higher heating output capacity to be able to support those really cold days. But it also highlights how big the shoulder season is in Minnesota. especially in this like 30 to 60 range. And if you're thinking about a furnace, even if it's modulating, it's one of those brand new ones, like 96% efficient. Even if it's still sized to support this and it's modulating, operating in all of this range, it's going to be short cycling because the lowest possible BTU output is still way more than the heating load needed for the home. So going back to that customer piece with natural gas, even if we have a higher switchover temperature of 35, 40 degrees, you're still saving that furnace from short cycling for a lot of hours throughout that year, which is going to extend the life of the furnace and help the customer be more confident that it's not going to burn out from short cycling too much. So this is just, it's a little bit trickier to explain, but I think another really tangible benefit that I haven't heard talked about too much. We're very focused on kind of the cost piece, which is really important, but I think that the possibility of extending the furnace life and just helping the issues for the life of the equipment here by taking off even this many hours, like you can see over here, these are some of the highest percentages of the year in that range, and that's still where you would save from operational costs if your switchover temperature was in this range, around 40 degrees. So are there any questions on this before I move on? I just like to call out the furnace piece because I know you're talked about too much. Awesome. And so just rounding out with contractor resources and tools that we provide from the Minnesota Air Source Heat Pump Collaborative. So first up, we want to help you sell more heat pumps. We have a preferred contractor network that we administrate throughout the state. When you go onto our website, when customers go on here, the first thing on the homepage is being able to enter in their zip code and pull up a list of preferred contractors in their area through our network. So it's a really great opportunity. We do have a lot of other programs that do point to this network too. So it's just really valuable for you to be able to join and make the most of getting more customer leads. The requirements are a training, either in person or online, and then an online site verification. So we just have you submit, it's an online survey, take some pictures and submit some information about a heat pump installation that you've completed recently. And then we'll go through, kind of verify the quality installation, and you'll be able to get added to the network. So if there are any questions, please reach out. We just love to be able to add more people to this, to provide more quality contractors to customers that find their way to our website and our avenues. And so just some upcoming trainings that we have here. So our registration is open. These trainings are ongoing. As you can see, I will be driving to Granite Falls after this today to deliver a training tomorrow. So this is just highlighting kind of our spring training run right now. We try to do some in the spring and fall every year. And, if nothing is in the right area for you or you're not able to make it, we do also have online trainings available that do qualify for that prerequisite. So if you can't make it to any of these, feel free to just watch the online modules. We have that all recorded. Once that is complete, you satisfy the training requirement and you can move forward to that site verification. And then just adding some additional value from our trainings. We're still working on getting our online training updated for Energy Skilled, but our live trainings, you can earn the NATE CEUs. You can also get this online. And our live trainings are Energy Skilled recognized for heat pump comfort advising. So this is just another credential that you can add to your list if you attend one of our trainings now. And another great piece here is that the Department of Energy is actually partnering with Google to try to help with a search boost. So any companies that have had someone attend an Energy Skilled training will then be logged and trying to get, a search boost to help you appear higher on that search list for marketing. So, that's another incentive that can be really helpful. And as I said, this does fulfill the PCN training requirement as well. And so finally, we host a lot of different learning tools and resources on our website, and we're constantly working to improve and expand these, and we just want them to be the most helpful to you. We really value your expertise and feedback, so always open to this. Please feel free to take advantage of the things that we have available. And if you have any questions, our team would be happy to meet and get together and walk through things, discuss things, and just really hear your feedback and see how we can best help you increase your heat pump sales for your customers. And that's all I have for my piece before I pass it over to Matthew. We do have a newsletter sign up, and this will be sent out, so no rush to do it right now. But we don't spam or anything. We just send something once a month. It's with updated trainings, resources, and anything that we know on the incentive and finances side. So any IRA updates, any new programs, we'll make sure to communicate that out on a monthly newsletter. So try to keep it short, sweet, and most useful for you. So, all right, and with that, I will pass it back over to Matthew. I was wondering if you want to use it. I just felt a little bit trapped, but I'm looking at this.
Great, thank you, Jordan. So that was air source heat pumps for heating and cooling. Now we're gonna talk about heat pump water heaters, that next biggest source of energy use in a home. So heat pump water heaters are super energy efficient electric water heaters. And we've seen a rapid increase in heat pump water heater shipments in the United States, especially in the last 5 years or so. So there's growing interest in these for a number of reasons, but a big one is they're really energy efficient. And kind of anecdotally, we've seen a similar trend here in Minnesota. A lot more customers are interested in heat pump water heaters and are installing them in their homes. Another trend that's supporting the growth of heat pump water heater adoption is the Department of Energy's ruling or finalization last year of efficiency standards for water heaters. So the Department of Energy promoted this as a way to save Americans over $7 billion on energy bills. But what this means is that by starting in 2029, about 50% of water heaters manufactured will require to meet efficiency standards that heat pump water heaters. So basically in 2029, 50% of the electric water heaters manufactured and then installed in the United States will be heat pump water heaters. So I know Haley and Tana are both leaders in the Rochester area on heat pump water heaters. You're setting yourselves up really well to meet this trend that we're leading towards to 2029. Another great trend is cost competitiveness. Customers are always worried, and rightfully so, worried about their energy bills. And heat pump water heaters can save customers money on their energy bills, which is really great. So when we're switching from an electric resistance water heater to a heat pump water heater, heat pump water heaters are about 60% more energy efficient because they're moving heat and putting it in the water rather than generating the heat themselves. So that's a 60% reduction in the energy costs for heating your water, which can be between about $300 and $500 a year for customers. So that's a ton of savings right off the bat, pretty much a no-brainer to do. But when we're switching from a gas water heater to a heat pump water heater, there are also savings available. Customers can expect between about $25 a year in energy cost savings to about $150, $175 a year. So it's at least break even and likely to save some money on your energy bills. And then compared to a tankless gas water heater, that on-demand water heater, a heat pump water heater is break even, or you might save, about $50 a year. So this is another great selling point with customers that energy bills will remain the same or go down. And then last but not least, we've seen a lot of improvement in heat pump water heater technology in recent years. Heat pump technology has been around for decades. It's not new. But especially for heat pump water heaters, they've improved a lot, and some of the concerns or reasons for callbacks that existed have been resolved or at least mitigated. So things like noise from the fan, heat pump water heaters have gotten a lot quieter, or installation requirements and space requirements. There are a lot of great installation tips, ways to vent them, or locate them in spaces where you'll still get that high efficiency and won't be limited by airflow restrictions. So we're seeing, more and more these heat pump water heaters are really great one-for-one replacements with fewer callbacks. And then there's also more and more product options available on the market. A big one now is 120 volt heat pump water heaters. These are a great option for customers who have a constrained panel or don't want to pay for the upfront cost of doing 240 volt wiring. So we're seeing installing a large 120 volt heat pump water heater with a thermostatic mixing valve is a way to provide a great low cost water heating solution for families with, between 2 and 4 members. So these are just a couple examples. There's a lot more out there, but it's a constantly improving technology. Okay, so those are the quick trends we're seeing in heat pump water heaters. Now we'll run through the financial incentives that are available. Like I mentioned, there's more and more incentives becoming available because of the huge energy savings that heat pump water heaters provide. Utility rebates are the first category we talked about. They're a great steady resource. RPU has a heat pump water heater rebate of up to $400 for tanks 55 gallons or less. And then if the tank is above 55 gallons, it's a $90 rebate. So this is a good one available to RPU customers. And then if you operate in People's Energy Cooperatives territory, they also have a $300 rebate for heat pump water heaters. On top of the utility rebates, there's the federal 25C tax credit, which is 30% of the project cost up to $2,000. So when we're talking about, really bringing down the incremental cost of a heat pump water heater compared to other options, this is a really powerful tool. There are some requirements. For example, the 30% will be calculated after utility rebates are subtracted from the cost, and the equipment must meet efficiency specifications outlined by Energy Star. And I know there is some uncertainty on the federal level right now, but one thing we are certain of and we've dug into is that if changes in tax law there's no precedent for them to impact the current tax year. So what that means is a heat pump water heater installed in 2025, that customer will be able to apply that rebate or that tax credit on their 2025 taxes. Any changes that happen this year wouldn't be implemented until the 2026 tax year. So we can feel confident this year continuing to promote this as an option. And just to give an example, here is one of the slides that we show residents in our resident facing workshops. So we do this to demonstrate how you can stack different rebates to really bring down that upfront cost. So the utility rebates and the tax credit and then the financing that Jordan talked about are great options. And then as you all are, I'm sure, aware of, the federal IRA rebates are expected to be rolled out by the state later this year. But we found success really selling the incentives that are available now, especially for heat pump water heaters. There's a really good value stack right now. And we feel, we've just had success communicating what's available now instead of, speculating and waiting when these other rebates will come. All right, so that's incentives. And then next I'm going to talk about tools and resources for selling and installing heat pump water heaters. One tool that we have found to be great for communicating the benefits of heat pump water heaters to customers is the Rocky Mountain Institute's Green Upgrade Calculator. This was designed to help energy professionals estimate both the environmental and economic costs and benefits of green electric upgrades. So we'll send this link out in the slides afterwards. But what this tool does is, as the installer or a homeowner can do this too, you put in some basic information on the home, size, square footage, age, existing equipment. And then you input what you're planning to upgrade to. So in this case, it'd be a heat pump water heater, put in, the size, listed efficiency, etc. And then you can also add details like the local utility electric rate, any incentives that are available. And then it spits out a bunch of really helpful charts that are great for communicating with customers, especially environmentally minded customers. So for example, you'll see the lifetime cost of the equipment, say going with a gas water heater versus a heat pump water heater. They estimate maintenance costs, electric operating costs. and include the upfront cost in that as well. And then also some good graphs on the environmental impact. So what is the carbon emission reductions a homeowner can expect from installing a green electric option? So we found this as just a good way, especially, we get some customers who really like to get in the weeds, see graphs, get data. This is a good tool to help visualize that for them. And then another great resource is the Hot Water Solutions, which is an initiative by the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. They're really a national leader in providing resources, tools, and support to increase heat pump water heater adoption. And even though they're based in the Northwest, their climate is a little bit different. It's still a cold climate where water heaters are generally installed indoors, and their tools are, applicable in our climate as well. And their the website has a bunch of great videos, which I'm not going to play for you right now. But everything from how to install a heat pump water heater, tips and tricks to install them right the first time, everything from the technical side all the way over to how to market and sell heat pump water heaters better. So definitely recommend checking these out. They have on-demand trainings as well as live trainings, and they're a great resource for kind of upping your game, getting more tips and tricks for installation. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Jordan. Let's talk about the watt diets.
Awesome, thank you. So just a few quick notes. There's this really awesome tool developed by Redwood Energy that's available. It's called the Watt Diet Calculator. And so this really helps efficiently allocate your panel usage. So there's a spreadsheet. I'll probably flip back and forth a little bit on this, but there's a downloadable spreadsheet that you use. This is the tool. And this is where you can fill out all of the different information about your home and all of your different electric loads, because a lot of times, when you're electrifying, depending on how many circuits are still left on your panel or what capacity is there, it can be tricky to look at electrified upgrades and trying to justify a panel upgrade on top of that, because I know that can be expensive. So this is a really great way to kind of break down everything. And then this really helps you find the best way to have major appliances share circuits or making sure that things are operating at different times. There's a lot of different strategies that can be implemented to avoid panel upgrades, even when you're adding more electrical systems to your home. So using this Watt Diet Calculator, I've played around with it quite a bit. It's really helpful in understanding what you can do. And a lot of times, it will still result in some electrical work and figuring out how to move things around and shift on a panel and make the most of kind of your available circuits without an upgrade, but it's a really great way to help avoid those costly upgrades for the customer. So this resource I know is available. We have the link here. And then in addition to the downloadable spreadsheet, I know that they have a really awesome, I think they have maybe it's 2 different PDFs. I know they at least have one that's very customer facing to help customers read through and understand how to make the most of this. How do I even use this tool? Who do I talk to? How do I implement what I learned from it? And then there are some more detailed technical information to talk to an electrician about and be able to share that so that they can help you through any of these modifications that are required so you can avoid that expensive panel upgrade. So highly recommend this. There are some other supplemental resources on the Redwood Energy website. I've read through a lot of them, and honestly, they're some of my favorite things that I found out there in terms of just analyzing your electric service and panel capacity and just kind of how to approach all of those things when you're looking at electrification upgrades. I think that is all. I can pass it back. Thanks, great. Cool. Great.
Yeah, and last but not least, we'll talk about the heat pump water heater installer network. So similar to the Air Source Heat Pump Collaborative's preferred contractor network, we have an installer network for heat pump water heaters. And the goal here is to connect residents with installers who are experienced and excited about installing heat pump water heaters. And it's a great way to generate leads. So we direct residents interested in heat pump water heaters to the installer network, really in all of the different areas that we touch. So that's on our website. We host many events throughout the year, including several workshops with the city of Rochester this year. We'll be tabling at a bunch of different festivals throughout the year. We were at the home show earlier this year. At all of those, anyone asking about water heaters will get pointed to the installer network. We also have the Electrify Advisor service, which I talked about earlier. Residents can call into them and get one-on-one support, and they point folks to the installer network as well. And then in our broader marketing, we get that. So it's a great way to get name recognition, and folks who are looking for bids on heat pump water heaters will go here. And joining is easy. Our goal is to make this as easy as possible for installers who are already installing heat pump water heaters to join the network. So Hannah is a member of the heat pump water heater installer network. And the way to join is watch our training video online, then take a short intake survey. And then after that, it's just a little bit of paperwork and our participation agreement, getting your confirmation of insurance and license, and then you're good to go. So anyone interested in joining the network can shoot me an email or just go to our website, do the training, and then we'll get you enrolled. And we renew our membership annually. It's just a confirmation. Are you still installing heat pump water heaters? Is the person who did the training still working at your company? And then we just renew the membership. We're doing that in April and May this year. So now is a great time to join the network and or renew your membership. So come talk to me afterwards and we can get you enrolled if you're interested. And that's what we've got for you today. We'd love to have a little Q&A, answer any questions you have. Start with the room. Yeah, any questions about what we talked about?
Thing that comes to mind for me on the heat pump water heaters, is, the possibility of like a combi unit. Because right now they're not rated, or like for heat or anything like that. So, do you know of anything? Because I know obviously they're coming a long way with their technology and their availability or ability to do things. So I didn't know if there was anything on the horizon for that.
Yeah, combi systems are one that I haven't seen like a market ready solution for yet. We've seen air to water heat pumps are starting to get installed more for like in-floor heating. But yeah, as far as combi systems go, yeah, nothing like ready to go at this moment that I'm aware of. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious from the folks in the room, are you, we've shared a lot of trends. Are you seeing an uptick in interest in heat pumps or heat pump water heaters in your business?
Yeah, I feel like on all of my appointments, I at least mention it because, homeowners are only gonna replace their HVAC system. A few times in their life, so I feel it's important, my job is to educate them on the benefits of, heat pumps versus air conditioning and the differences. And yeah, you get a light bulb moment on a lot of folks that you don't really understand, never even really considered it because they didn't hear about it or didn't know about it. So I think education is just the best path right now so people know what their options are.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's like the worst like sinking feeling when someone's like, yeah, I like replaced my system a year ago and I hadn't heard about these options and I wish I could go back in time. So that's just it. Yeah.
And to add another point to that customer survey that I shared a few results from, one of the other results is there was about a 70% awareness gap. So about 70% of all the customers surveyed knew anywhere from little to nothing about air source heat pumps. So just kind of going back to that point of the education and just trying to normalize them in the market. As you're saying, just having a standard to talk about, I think is so helpful so that they're just used to hearing about it. What is this? Another thing I've heard is that pictures help a lot because there is still that big misconception that a heat pump is just one system. A lot of people think it's like, oh, is that doing the heating? And then I also have my air conditioner. So I think using pictures and helping them understand that, it's just a one-for-one replacement and it can do both. It's really helpful too. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious from you all if, what benefits you're seeing for your company for installing these electric technologies. And we listed them all. But, yeah, any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate you waking up early, spending your morning with us. We'll be mingling in the back. Please grab some more food and we'll be sending out the slides and all the resources we mentioned as well. So thanks for being here.